Hi, I'm Amber and this is a book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. This is a memoir, and this memoir takes you on Elizabeth Gilbert's journey through India, Indonesia, and Italy. This book is split into 3 parts. In each part, she's talking about a specific thing that she is discovering. In Italy, she is discovering pleasure, and in India, she is discovering devotion, and in Indonesia, she is discovering balance. This book is very humorous, very sarcastic at times, and I just thought that it brought something into this memoir that I'm not really used to seeing. I don't read a lot of memoirs, but I read A. David Sedaris, and I really did not like that humor. So that Elizabeth Gilbert could bring a kind of humor into her memoir that I could relate to and find very funny was surprising, but also very nice to finally get something that's humorous. I haven't read a book that made me laugh out loud in such a freaking long time that I automatically fell in love with this book because of the humor. It wasn't only that part of the book that made me fall in love. But before I get into the major discussions of this book, I want to talk about some issues I had. And the first issue was a little bit of the writing, just because there were times where I would be brought out of the reading just because words would be mixed up with each other or missing out of the sentence, and I would have to read the sentence a couple times for me to figure out what was going on. But this didn't really happen all that much, so overall it didn't take away from my reading experience, but I do feel that I shouldn't have been taken out of the reading, and that was a bit of an issue. The other issue, which I guess wouldn't be considered an issue because I understood what was happening here, but it was in the first part when she's in Italy and she's in love with the language, but she will translate word for word what she had given you without even I thought in her mind that maybe we could have gotten the meaning of the word through context, because she'll a lot of times go into an explanation of what she loved about the word and stuff like that, and a lot of times we could have easily learned. So I felt at times that she was questioning the reader's intelligence by doing that, but at the same time, I understood that she was so excited about this language that she just wanted us to be able to share with her love for these phrases, for these words. So it was kind of a toss-up for me. Another thing that I really loved about this book was all the things that I learned, especially in Italy when she was talking about the language and the origin of Italian. It blew my mind to realize where Italian originated from and the reasoning of it. It was just mind-blowing to me. And the other thing that I really liked was in India when she was talking about yoga and meditation. And I really enjoyed the philosophical discussion she had at the beginning, where she was talking about yoga and meditation and how it helps you find your true self, which is your supreme self, and is actually what they believe is God. And I really liked that idea. It just resonated with me, and Buddhism has always been something that I've always been really interested in. I've always been interested at a distance, but when I was reading this part, it was something that I actually wanted to discover personally, especially with the yoga and meditation, because there were certain things that I really was into, especially just because of that whole supreme self thing. I just that is something I want to discover. So it was very interesting, all these things that she was bringing up through each country she was visiting. But there was these things that she would say that really just popped out at me, that I felt was the moment where she discovered it. And in Italy, she makes mention about how the appreciation of pleasure can be the anchor of our humanity. And I really like that idea, because we do see how when a person is too negative or just too serious about things, how that can end up. We see a lot in the news. And I wonder if that person had appreciated the little moments, the pleasurable moments, the times where we just went and enjoyed something instead of dwelling on the darkness, that badness, that negativity, if the outcome of all that would be different. So it was very interesting, especially because pleasure isn't something that I've actually thought about, but it's also something that I would like to get more acquainted with. Also, when it comes to her discovery on devotion, she talks about how devotion is diligence without assurance. And this is something that, if you're a Christian, you know all about this. Faith is knowing without seeing. And I think that's the basic theme of this thing that she was saying, because you are being devoted to something that you don't really know that could be true. And that is a struggle with all of us, because there's a lot of things that are just so much more bigger than us, and we can't really prove it, but we feel like this has to be, like we want it to be. I loved that Elizabeth Gilbert showed that struggle with her meditation and how she had to kind of overcome her skepticism, I think, and also with learning how to be quiet in her mind when she was trying to meditate and be devoted. So I fell in love with that aspect of devotion, and that there's different ways to be devoted, there's different ways of worshiping God, I guess. It was just a very interesting, very intriguing, and very insightful part of the book for me, because it was the one thing that I'm struggling with. Like, I'm struggling with the idea of God, I'm struggling with the idea of maybe religion, and so it's just something that really brought something more to the book and to my reading experience with this book. The last thing that she brings up, and it could kind of seem like topsy-turvy, but the basics of what she says is actually coming from her friend YN, and she says the balance for love is actually living a life of balance. And I like that idea. At the same time, it's something that you kind of have to think really hard on to try to understand the fullness of that phrase. But it's like change always brings imbalance, but at the same time it creates balance. So it goes hand in hand, and I think that's what she was basically saying. And I think that is something that we all kind of have to learn and deal with on a daily basis, is learning to balance our day, learning to balance our lives, learning to balance our moments of pleasure with our moments of devotion, and how we all have to kind of grow through balance. Really just love these discussions on all three of these things and how they all kind of played together with each other. Overall, I felt that she was honest with the way she was talking about her life, but there were times, especially when she was talking about the results of her meditation, where I was like, I'm not really sure I can believe that. But overall, I felt she was honest and true to what her life was and where she was going in her life at that time. So it was kind of like moments of doubt there and here, but I just can't help it. I love this book so much. There's a lot of learning in this book and a lot of opening up to these greater ideas, and I liked that. I felt I was going on that journey alongside Gilbert through this book. This book gets 4.5 stars. If you read this book, tell me down below what you thought. Do you agree or disagree with me? Let's have a discussion. Thank you guys so much for watching, and keep warm.